Welcome back to a Fortnight on the Isle. I'm your host, King Crusoe, but you can call me KC. In today's video, we have a little bit of a different setup here on screen. I know I'm a little smaller. I have my camera scrunched up. Still trying to get something taken care of for the new Fortnight on the Isle sort of program, I guess, for 2025. But again, haven't had a whole lot of time the last couple weeks as a result of more overtime, more callouts at work. Again, to the point where I decided to vacate a little bit over the last few days of this weekend. I took a vacation to guarantee some time off, and also decided to take a minor step back from some of my work stuff, my personal work projects as well, which you'll see a little bit of as we get a little bit further into the video. Took a short trip for a couple days out of town to see a friend, the friend who moved relatively recently, and we didn't do basically anything productive. To be honest, it was nice to not do much of anything for at least a couple of days, because sometimes it gets a little bit much when you just work. Workaholism doesn't do the body very much good. It can be a little bit of a struggle sometimes, but now I'm moving a little bit back into the grind. But this sort of setup that you're seeing on screen is more of a temporary thing, kind of the same way that the last Fortnight on the Isle was a temporary, continuance of the regular program, even though I wanted to improve things a little bit. I'll do my best to let the editing in this one be a little bit better. So regardless of all of that stuff, my reading the last couple of weeks has also taken a toll. It's been a little bit messy. Let's explore why. The main thing that I got done, well, this isn't the main thing actually, but one of the things that I'm proud of actually getting done is I've continued We Who Wrestle with God by Jordan Peterson. I finished part 2 shortly after recording the last episode. In fact, I think I finished part 2 of the book while that was rendering, that video was rendering. At least I was doing it, those couple of days, and I'm most of the way through part 3 now, and part 3 has definitely been the best material of the book thus far. Been really enjoying it. Not quite done with part 3, but I expect that I'll be able to finish part 3 by the end of this week, so I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, part 3 has been the best part so far, and I've been enjoying it. The other main thing that I have done these last couple of weeks, however, was I started the Aeneid by Virgil, which is, of course, basically a spiritual successor and interquel of the Iliad and the Odyssey, although it follows different characters and has obviously a little bit of a different storyline. This poem follows the story of Aeneas and some of the Trojans who survived the Trojan War, who survived the fall of Troy, trying to make their way to Italy to found Rome. That is basically what the voyage is discussed in this cover, and the first half of it is basically a spiritual successor of the Odyssey. The back half of it seems like it's probably going to be a successor to the Iliad based off of the things that I've heard. I haven't read well, I guess I have read plenty of it up to this point. I've read about 5 of the 12 books, not quite halfway through, but I have enjoyed my time with it thus far. A couple of the books, parts 2 and 4 particularly, were splendid, but some of the rest of it has been a little bit more mixed. I didn't love part 5 or book 5, which I read this morning. Book 3 was a little bit too derivative of the style that book 2 kind of started, with that Odyssey-like recounting of a tale. Part 1 was good. So I've enjoyed my time with it, not blowing me away that either Iliad or Odyssey did thus far, though, which is kind of a shame. The other thing that I got read over the last couple of weeks, which you'll maybe be able to see on screen here, is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Demigod Files. Originally, this was going to be my maybe read item for the month, the thing that I might fit in here or there if I have time, but with these couple of other books and some of the other obligations that I've had going on at work, it turned out just being a good idea to read something shorter and quicker for a couple of those mornings that I had, and that's what this worked out well being. The Demigod Files is a collection of 3 Percy Jackson short stories, those being Percy Jackson and the Stolen Chariot, and the Bronze Dragon, and the Sword of Hades, which all kind of escalate in terms of their stakes, which is fun to have those stories escalate. There's also various, very many interviews, which don't really do anything there in the middle. The end also has a couple random auxiliary stuff that you're meant to be able to do with a physical book, and is obviously meant for the middle grade age readers who would have just read Percy Jackson and the Olympians in full. So like it's a good side piece to all of that. I like the 3 short stories. The first one's okay, the second one's good, the third one is actually quite good in nearly all regards. So I enjoyed my time with that. I'm glad that I broke up some of the other monotony with that over this past week or so. But the main thing that I was actually reading a couple of weeks ago, like shortly after the previous Fortnight on the Isle episode, what I did was I spent several days more or less basically focusing only on Continuing Monster. I finished Volume 5 and read all of Volume 6, which were the Prague arc, and then read Volume 7, which finishes up the little brief imprisonment arc in there. These couple of arcs were great. Thought the Volume 7 was a little bit messy insofar as there's a lot of stuff going on, especially in the last handful of chapters, where there's a lot of like time and POV jumps that make things like a little bit much to follow. But basically everything that I've read in these few volumes was really fantastic. Really excited to continue that. Not entirely sure when I'm actually going to be able to touch volumes 8 and 9 and finish the series outright, but I do have those on the TBR for pretty soon. I just knew that with the end of volume 7, I was like, I need a very small break from this. It's been nearly a week at this point. It's been several days since I finished volume 7, but I needed a little bit of time away to process what volume 7 does, because it does quite a bit. But that is the rest of the reading that I got done this fortnight. Next up, let's move into the coming releases, where I can maybe improve my editing a little bit and have some thumbnails down that direction for you to see of upcoming releases. On the main channel, we're going to have 5 episodes of the Book Binge over the next 2 weeks. But first, I'm going to mention that yesterday, at the time of this video's release on the 18th of January, is probably a Book Binge bonus episode that I'm going to record shortly after this, which is just an unboxing of the Words of Radiance leather-bound Kickstarter-esque type of campaign that Dragonsteel did. So I'm going to post that video later today at the time that I'm recording this, which means that, you know, you can go ahead and watch that right after this video if you are so inclined. But the upcoming videos are just as exciting in my opinion. This Tuesday on the 21st is going to be my series kind of wrap-up review, and most importantly, the ranking of The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. That's going to be coming out. I had a fun time recording that episode. It was a little bit different, a little bit more experimental in terms of what kind of the way that I was talking about the books in that video. But I think it turned out well enough for what it was. This Thursday on the 23rd is going to be part 2 of my 3-part 2024 reading tier list, this time covering the rest of the novels that I read in 2024. Of course, I did the first half of the novels that I read just this past Thursday, and I thought that that was pretty successful, so this Thursday is going to be covering the rest of those. Next Sunday on the 26th, will be another edition of Author Talks, this time with DJ Butler, Dave Butler, author of Witchy Eye, in which we talked about Witchy Eye. We talked about some of his inspirations for the series. We talked about language and how writing and editing affect different parts of his career over time. That is, up to this point, the longest video that I've posted on this main channel. 2 hours and 10 minutes, which is a few minutes longer than even the discussion that I did with Christopher Rocchio a couple of years back, which up to that point was the longest video on the channel. So that's pretty cool, actually. Really great guy, super easy to talk to, fascinating to talk to. I think I talked for maybe 5% of that video, and I was making an absolute fool of myself every time I opened my mouth. He is great. I highly recommend you check out that video. Next Tuesday on the 28th, will be a discussion type of video where I talk about a little like poll thing that I did in a Discord server for Mike's book reviews, and we did series length preferences, which is basically talking about how long people like their stories to be, whether that be 1 or 2 books or a trilogy, 5-book series, or whatever else somebody could come up with, what their general preferences were. That's what that video covers, and I thought that video turned out a lot better than I was expecting for it to. Next Thursday, we'll be finishing up the 2024 reading tier list series. That'll be part 3, covering the novellas and the short stories. So where the first 2 parts covered all the big books and major arcs of stuff that I read, that video will be the little shorter fiction that I read over the course of the year, and I thought that that video was also pretty good. I kind of liked where a lot of those things were ranked. A lot of banger stories that I read in the first half of 2024, and I enjoyed talking about them once again. On the second channel, we'll have a few more videos coming out, a couple of which I'm very excited for. Tomorrow is, of course, going to be episode 3 of Music Mania, in which I'll talk about a whole lot of singles that released and a couple of albums that I re-listened to, so that'll be exciting. This Wednesday will be my film of the year list, except instead of ranking my favorite films, it will be ranking all 9 movies that I watched in 2024, so that'll be a complete ranking. That one is up and definitely going to be publishing on time. I was originally planning for that one to come out this past Wednesday, but by the time it came to like midway through the evening of Tuesday, I was like, if I wanted this video to come out tomorrow, I would be up till like midnight working on it and having to wake up at 3 the next morning for work. I figured that wasn't super wise, so I made peace with the fact that these videos would just be delayed a week because of all of the overtime and not having time to work on stuff. This Friday or Saturday was supposed to be a short little one-off Let's Play thing where I actually played the full like Kickstarter backer demo for the game of Crowsworn. I haven't had the time to work on that, unfortunately, so that video is not going to be coming out at that point anymore, which is really depressing. Like, there's been like 3 times where I've said that's going to happen at this period of time, and then it never became a timely priority. This time it was going to be a priority, but because of all the stuff that happened with work so far this month, I had just straight up have not had the time to work on it, which is unfortunate. Instead, you'll have your regular Music Mania episode next Monday, episode 4 of that, to be determined what I'm going to be covering in that. Of course, as always, next Wednesday on the 29th, however, will be my 2024 Album of the Year video. For the rest of this weekend, I'm going to be working on finishing that video up so that it can be, you know, up on time like the Film of the Year video was. That time, it's actually going to be a top video instead of ranking everything, because I couldn't possibly do that. I'm going to be ranking my 8 favorite singles, my 8 favorite EPs, and my 20 favorite albums, plus 10 honorable mentions in that video. So I'm looking forward to that one. That will be a pretty lengthy video, hence why I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend at the time of recording working on that video as soon as I'm done with this. So looking forward to that going up. That'll be that last Wednesday of January. As for anything that'll come out after that, I think on maybe Saturday the 1st of February will be the tutorial, the solo tutorial for my Let's Play with Josh of Remnant 2. I'm not entirely sure on that. Haven't decided what's going to be coming out for Let's Play stuff at that point yet. And I think because I have had that backlogged for over a year now since we did that Let's Play, I think I'm just going to go ahead and record it. I don't think I'm going to go super crazy into editing it. I think I'm just going to let basically those multi-hour long recordings be kind of VODs in their own right and just publish those while I'm trying to recover from the beginning of the year here. I think that's probably what I'm going to do with Remnant 2. That might come out on the 1st of February. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to try to make that happen if possible. But that is everything that I have for the coming releases. Let's talk now about the bi-weekly writing, in which I once again have the disappointing news that there have been 0 words on the Reign of Ash, and I think a lot of that is because I've been finding it really hard to actually come back to that actively from a writing perspective, from a creative perspective, even though I've been wanting to, and even though I feel like I've been needing to for quite a few months at this point where I haven't gotten any progress. It's been hard to actually make that jump. So instead, I'm focusing my fiction writing brain on organizing something else, something a little bit shorter, which I'm not going to talk too much about, but a project called The Tributaries. Got 250 words technically written for that, but it's basically just file organization and a couple little bits of pre-writing ideas related stuff for that. What it is going to be, what that idea is going to be, will be known in due time. For now, it's just one short story or novelette, something along those lines. What I do from there, I'm not entirely sure, but because I have struggled to return to the Reign of Ash for a while, I think I need like a reset, a mental reset in the fiction part of my brain. It felt like the right time to do this story because of what it's going to be. Like I said, I'll explain that probably in due time. A couple of friends of mine know a little bit of that information that I'm withholding for now, but most likely when the story has taken form or maybe is entirely written is when I'll announce what that actually is. But because it's meant to just be a short thing to reset my brain, I really hope that this project will be a good creative outlet to aid in me coming back to the Reign of Ash and other writing projects in the future. In reviews and blogs, however, I did do a good, decent bit of writing. 3,400 words I wrote for book reviews over this fortnight, 2,500 words of which were for The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I finally circled back around to and finished writing that review, rather started and finished writing that review. It took a couple weeks to do, somehow, surprisingly. I don't know why it took me so long, but it got done, 2,500 words. I'm pretty happy with that review overall, so not surprised that it ended up being that long. I thought it would be shorter, but that's how things go sometimes. I wrote brief reviews for all of volumes 5 through 7 of Monster. Those 3 totaled to being about 900 words long or so. I was supposed to write a review for the Demigod Files a couple days back and completely forgot about it, so I haven't done that quite yet. But we'll probably do that shortly after I'm done with this video and the Music Mania video and today's extra book binge video. I'll probably write a very brief review for that. I don't need to write very many words for it. I doubt it'll be more than like 250 words or something like that. But for now, the 3,400 words were all that I got done for book reviews. For music reviews, I used to have a segment at the end of Fortnight on the Isle called Music Talk, where I talked about various different music releases that I had my eye on and how I felt about them very briefly. Now I do those as their own videos every Monday on the second channel, as kind of I already discussed in the coming releases. But over the last fortnight, I've reviewed 20 different albums or EPs on Music Board, totaling 4,600 words. One of those albums I actually reviewed twice, which was part of that. I'm not going to list all the individual albums and EPs that I'm writing these reviews for, because you can check out my Music Board profile linked in the description, and you can check out Music Mania on the second channel if you're so inclined. I did not write anything related to games or film these last couple weeks because I've been too busy working on the actual videos and recordings and stuff for the Game of the Year and Film of the Year videos, but that's okay to not have written any additional words there. I think I will soon be compiling notes for more critical analysis videos for video game stuff, and I do have a film review that I actually need to go back and write at some point pretty soon, discovering that I had forgotten to do so several months back, so that is something that I should fix. But for now, let's move into entertainment talk, the final segment for this video. I did not play any games this fortnight. I doubt I'll have any time to play any games for the rest of the month either, so this section's going to be pretty short this week. If I do get time, it's going to be all playing Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones game, until it's done basically. But like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to have time for that this month. It might be like the very last week of the month or very early February when I finally circle back around to that. I should probably do that because, man, I need a break from some of the work stuff that I've been doing, and I would enjoy playing that game for sure. Speaking of Indiana Jones in film talk, you know, movie talk, I haven't watched any of these, but while I was out, I did buy all of the Indiana Jones movies. So I think it would be a very fun thing to go back, not just to play the Indiana Jones game, but also watch all of these. I love the first and third one, which I've seen a bunch of times. I've never seen the second or the fourth. Honestly, I'm not super interested in the fifth one either, but because, like I said, I'm going to play the game soon, and I want to rewatch a couple of those movies and watch some of the ones that I haven't seen yet. If I just watch or experience all the Indiana Jones stuff, or the main Indiana Jones stuff out there, that would be a pretty fun thing. I think it would honestly be really fun to do movie reviews for all of these on the second channel, maybe even do a retrospective of the whole series or something like that. Incorporating some game stuff in there too would be really entertaining. So for entertainment talk, I think anything that I talk about for the next couple of these fortnights on the Isle will probably be Indiana Jones related. Not entirely sure, not going to confirm that right now because of course I can't. Not going to count my chickens before they hatch. But that is going to be the end of this fortnight on the Isle. Thank you for watching this if you did. I know this one is still a little bit rougher format while I'm still trying to get the time put together to improve the series the way that I wanted to improve other series. But I think that things are going somewhat okay for now, but I appreciate you checking this out if you did As always, be sure to check out that Words of Radiance Leatherbound unboxing video from yesterday if you haven't already. Be sure to tune into the second channel for Music Mondays if you haven't already gone over there and subscribed. And be sure to check in for more end-of-year wrap-up stuff over the next couple of weeks on this channel as well. I really appreciate you sticking around, and I can't wait to see how you feel about the rest of the videos that I have planned for the month. For now, I have been your host, King Crusoe, but you can call me KC, and I'll be back in the next video.